Bienvenidos al curso Módulo de Competitividad 10, código FG708, semana número 2. Este curso es impartido en idioma inglés, así que continuemos. Topic. Number 1. Propagation of plants. Number 2. Sexual propagation. Number 3. Asexual propagation. This is Elio Ochoa, environmental engineer, and let's continue with the course. Class objectives. Describe the concept of propagation of plants. Next, study sexual plants propagation. Finally, explain some types of asexual plants propagation. Propagation of plants. Plant propagation is the process of obtaining new plants from existing sources, whether seeds, cuttings, bulbs, tubers, rhizomes, or plant tissues. Plant propagation has several objectives, such as increasing the number of plants, preserving genetic diversity, improving plant characteristics, or creating new varieties. Plant propagation can be done either sexually or asexually, depending on the type of plant and the method used. Here we can see an example of propagation of some trees. In this case, we can see the trees that in Guatemala we call pinaveres. Let's continue with our class. Sexual propagation of plants. Sexual propagation involves reproduction by seeds, which are the result of the union of male and female gametes in flowers. Sexual propagation has the advantage of generating genetic variability among plants, which can favor adaptation to different environmental conditions or resistance to pests and diseases. However, sexual propagation also has disadvantages such as the delay in obtaining mature plants, the loss of desirable characteristics due to genetic recombination, or the need for specific conditions for seed germination and growth. Some plants that propagate sexually in Guatemala are pine, pinabete, and myrtle, which reproduce by seeds that require a cold period to germinate. Some plants that are propagated asexually in Guatemala are salvia, mozote, and malacate, which are reproduced by cuttings or layering. These methods of plant propagation are useful for ecological restoration and biodiversity conservation. Here we can see an example of a pine. And to your right, you can see the plant salvia. They are common plants here in Guatemala. Sexual propagation by pollination. Pollination is the biological process by which pollen is transferred from the male parts of a flower, the stamens, to the female parts, the pistil or stigma, This process allows the fertilization of the flower's ovules and the production of seeds and fruit. Pollination can occur within the same flower, between flowers of the same plant, or between flowers of different plants. Pollen can be transported by abiotic agents such as wind or water, or by biotic agents such as insects, birds, or bats. Pollination is essential for plant reproduction and diversity, as well as for the reproduction or production of food and other resources for humans and other animals. Here we can see an example of pollination that is made by bees. And to the right, you can see pollination with the aid of the wind. In this case, we have a pine here that is helped by the wind to make pollination. Pollination is of great importance for agriculture, and many crops depend on pollination services to increase their yield and quality. Pollinators such as bees, bumblebees, butterflies, hummingbirds, and other animals contribute to food security and rural development by pollinating more than 75% of the world's food crops. Pollination also supports biodiversity conservation and adaptation to climate change by maintaining the genetic diversity of plants and their ability to adapt the environmental conditions. Characteristics of sexual hybrid reproduction. Hybrid plants are those that result from crossing two different species, either natural or artificially. These plants usually have combined characteristics of their parents, which can give them adaptive or aesthetic advantages. Some examples of hybrid plants are yield. Hybrid plants usually have a higher yield than non-hybrid plants due to the phenomenon of heterosis or hybrid vigor, which implies an increase in productivity, resistance, and adaptability of hybrid plants. Uniformity. Hybrid plants are usually more uniform than non-hybrids, since they have a practically unique genotype, while non-hybrids can have several genotypes within the same variety. Quality. Hybrid plants tend to have better quality than non-hybrids in terms of appearance, flavor, aroma, nutritional value, etc. This is because the parents with the best characteristics are selected to obtain the hybrid. Costs. Hybrid plants usually have a higher cost than non-hybrids, both in the production of the seeds and in the purchase by the farmer or the consumer. This is because the process of obtaining hybrid seeds is more complex and requires more resources and research. Specialization. Hybrid plants tend to be more specialized for certain purposes or markets, such as industrial production, mass consumption or export. Non-hybrid plants tend to be more versatile and suitable for self-consumption, local trade, or agroecology. Examples of hybrid plants: stargazer lily is a hybrid lily belonging to the Oriental group created by a California lily breeder in 1974. It has large, fragrant pink flowers with white and red spots. It is a fast-growing plant that blooms in summer. Lemon Boy is a popular hybrid tomato by variety that is relatively new. It is a big hit among both home and commercial growers. The medium-sized fruits grow to 7 or 8 ounces and have a distinct, beautiful, bright yellow color. The Lemon Boy hybrid is very disease resistant and grows at an average speed, producing fruit in about 72 days. The priced lemon boys are sugary, sweet, high yielding, and can be harvested throughout the growing season if kept well. Here we can have an example of a lemon boy. Notice that this is a green tomato, or it looks like a green tomato. And here we have an example of the flower stargaze lily. You can note here the combination of colors. The pomato, Solanum burbanki, is a hybrid plant obtained by grafting a tomato and a potato plant. Both species belong to the same genus Solanum, so they are compatible. A single tomato plant produces tomatoes on the branches and potatoes on the roots. It was commercially released in the UK in 2013. Brymato, Solanum melongena, is another hybrid plant achieved by grafting an eggplant and a tomato plant. It was first introduced by Indian scientists in Varanasi. It has purple and round fruits similar to eggplants but with a sweeter and less bitter taste. Here we have an example of a tomato. Note that this plant is a mixture of a tomato and a potato plant. We can see here at the bottom on the roots the potatoes, and over the plant we can see the tomatoes. The shade paint tree is a hybrid tree that arises from the cross between the Oriental plane tree, Platanus orientalis, and the Western plane tree, Platanus occidentalis. It is a very resistant and adaptable tree which can reach up to 40 meters in height. It has large lobed leaves and spherical fruits that hang in clusters. Here we can see a tree of and also we can see the fruits of these tree.